I'm going to talk to you today about the lunar nodes, how important they are astrologically, and what they are astronomically in the sky. So many of you know that the nodes are where the eclipses happen, and but so what? What's the big deal about eclipses, and why are the nodes important? Besides the eclipse. So I have a diagram here behind me that shows the sun, moon, and Earth and their orbits. You see, I have the Earth's orbit this way, the moon's orbit this way around the Earth. So the Earth orbit around the sun, moon orbit around the Earth. And this would be actually a new moon. The moon would be dark if this were the lunar phase. But this would also be a time, if the orbits were lined up this way as well, this would be a time when we would have an eclipse. Now, because the moon's orbit is diagonal, it's not flat. The planets aren't always in this flat plane. You see, all three bodies don't always orbit the same plane in a diagonal space. Especially the moon's orbit is like this around the Earth. It goes in this kind of a way. It goes back and forth like this. And when we have the new and full moons at the same time that sun, moon, and Earth line up this way, that's when we have the eclipses. But again, like I said, because the moon's orbit is variable, especially along the ecliptic, it winds up being kind of much more gyroscopic. We don't always have the eclipses on the full and new moons because the moon is not in the same plane. It has to be in the same, almost exact plane as the sun and Earth. You have to have sun, Earth, and then moon also at the same point. That's when you get these eclipses. So the thing to know about eclipses is even though they happen 4 times a year, we have a solar and a lunar eclipse twice each year on average. It's easy to say, oh, they happen all the time. They really don't happen all the time relative to how much time it is. It's really only a few hours per year, really less than 1 day per year there's an eclipse taking place. So it's not infrequent as far as it's a measurable thing that happens consistently, but it's not often. It's like 1 day out of the year. The aggregate time of eclipses is about 1 day out of the year. So these are very concentrated moments of time. Now that's when the nodes actually line up. But the lunar nodes are in each person's astrology chart somewhere, and they're creating an eclipsed sort of fashion in everyone's astrology chart in one way or another. Now, what happens, like for instance, when we have an eclipse and what the nodes actually bring together, even when we're not having an eclipse, is they bring together the 3 factors of body, mind, and spirit. The Earth is related to the body because you incarnated on the Earth with a physical body. You have a physical form, and that physical karma is related to Earth and the way time unfolds on Earth and the way time moves forward on Earth. And you come to Earth with a physical form in order to have experiences that teach you how much you really understand what you think you know. This is what our karma is really about. We have an idea that we got it all figured out on some level. We have an idea that, oh, this is reality. This is how it works. And so we come here with a physical body to test that. Say, oh, let's see how that's going to work out. I know how this works. I know how relationships are supposed to be. So what happens? Do I really know? And we get feedback. We get immediate feedback into what we think we know when we incarnate on the Earth. Because we have a physical body that experiences pleasure and pain very easily. We have an emotional body that also gets immediate feedback into what we think we're doing. And this is to teach us, and our progress is rapid, especially in this yuga, the Kali Yuga or the Dwapar Yuga, whatever it is. In the heavier times, our karma speeds up very fast because we get immediate feedback into what we're doing. So we have enormous potential to correct our mistakes in this era. So complain all you want about life. This is the best time to incarnate a spiritual being. And in all of the Vedas and the Upanishads, the great rishis and gurus always pray to be incarnated in a difficult time so that they can speed up their karma very quickly. And that's what we live in. So we come to Earth with this physical body and emotional body so that we can experience what we think we really know. and get feedback into it, emotional feedback mainly. We take physical action based on what we think we know, then it creates a feeling. Oh, how did that really work out? Oh, so I pushed my way through that and I kind of got what I want, but I pissed everybody off in the process. Maybe that really wasn't the best way to do it. Our heart tells us, gives us truthful feedback. That's what the moon is. Now we can choose to not listen to it and then say, oh, well, so what? What do they know anyway? They're just blah, 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 and kind of explain it away, and we can do all kinds of stuff. But this process is why we're in a physical body with time moving forward, consequences that are deep. We know our physical body's not going to last forever. We know, quote, we're going to die. So we don't have forever to get it figured out. We see that decay happening all the time. Body and mind are the real realms of existence that we grapple with more than anything. And then soul is the sun. It's all done so that we can become fully illuminated, fully enlightened, and self-realized again. Realize the self. This is why we come here to do it. To re-emerge, to reintegrate with the sun within, which is not our personal power. We personalize everything because we're so addicted to the body-mind story. Talk about illusion. That's the big illusion. The Paramatman, the supreme self of the sun, is not separate. It's not local. It's not a local creature. It doesn't have a body. It's the supreme self that's joined all selves. When you get two great beings together, two Mahatmas, it's not like there are two eternal selves. There's only one eternal self. They're just joined that eternal self. And we're that eternal self too, but we're not joined it. It's potential. It's a seed potential within us. Many make the mistake, especially who are Vedantins and non-dualists, and say, well, but we're all the supreme self anyway, so it'll all, any effort is just to miss the point. That's not true. Actually, our divinity is like a tree hidden in a seed. Yes, you can look at the tree and you can look at the seed and say, this is the potential of a tree. But you can't look at the seed and say, this is a tree. The seed is not the tree. Our enlightenment is not foregone. We can easily waste lifetimes and eternities not growing. We can do it. Just like you can take that seed and just throw it on the concrete. Nothing will happen. If we're going to turn that into the tree of consciousness, the tree of enlightenment, we need to do sadhana, we need to do work. And so, some of us get gurus who embody that, who have walked the path, and then they show us how to walk the path and all of this. But this is like the tree of fruition that this seed process is undergoing. Now, since we've incarnated on Earth with a physical body and as a human being, we're not just a seed. A seed is like a microbe, it's like a rock or something. Our seed has sprouted, it's busted the surface. We're like a sapling growing at some stage of growth. This is what we're doing. We're growing. It's like a flower opens up to the sun. We're trying to grow and become the mighty tree, the mighty oak of our life, and bear fruit. And once the tree becomes enlightened, then it also gives fruit and gives sustenance to others. We're not at that stage yet. A lot of what we're doing is still taking and eating the fruit of the enlightened trees around us. That's fine. But this is the process. What the nodes do is they bring together all three of these powerful things. Body, mind, and spirit, when we have an eclipse, literally, is like, bam! For a couple hours. Again, it's easy to say, oh, they happen all the time. That's not the way to look at it. They don't happen all the time. They're frequent, they happen regularly, but the time is not that often. The moments they happen are enormous portals into creativity, into creative growth. So body, mind, and spirit line up, and then it's like, bam! It took 6 months for that to happen, and then boom, then it goes on. And then when the moon comes around to the other side, let's say, then we get it again for a few hours, and then boom. And then it doesn't happen again for 6 months. And then we get it happen a few more hours. This is why eclipses are so powerful, because body, mind, spirit, experience, feeling, and supreme self come together. Even if we're not having an eclipse, though, what the nodes do is that same type of energy, that same kind of action. The lunar nodes themselves bring that axis, because there's the nodal axis is always somewhere, even if it's not visible. You see, what happens is the nodes become visible during the eclipse. What happens is the node becomes powerful. It says, I got you, I got the sun, I got it, I got the power. The shadow gets the power. Now, if we embrace our shadow, it's very powerful. But the shadow is always there. The intersection of sun, moon, and earth are always somewhere. In your natal chart, this shows an enormous vortex of creativity, enormous power that's often dark and dormant, subconscious, and spinning you out of control. Really, your unconscious obsessions. Your unconscious obsessions towards something and aversions away from something are Rahu and Ketu, the north and south node. Rahu is the thing you're convinced this is the thing. Oh, if I get this, yeah. That's the real power. That'll get me to the sun really quick. This is what Rahu wants. He wants to drink the pot of nectar, the pot of Amrit, the pot of immortal nectar. The beast, Svarbanu, took a drink of it because he's like, this will give me the power. And that's what we want. We want the power quickly. Because that's why we came here. We didn't come, our soul knows, I came here to get to this illumined power. Rahu is the part of you that says, okay, so you're saying, if I take this pill, I can get the power. If I do these drugs, I can get the power. All right, then give me the drugs. What's the question? What's the problem? Give me the drugs. Okay, that was good. Now give them to me again. Now give them to me again. So we can go crazy. Rahu is the part of us that wants the power, but doesn't necessarily want to do the work. We're obsessed with something that we think is going to have that quality to us. Oh, this is the thing. I got to get this. Now it calms down after a certain age, but it's still there. It's an enormous vortex of concentration and focus in our life, the north node. The south node is where we're like, oh, I've already done that. I don't need to do that anymore. I don't want to do that. And we have done it. We have an enormous amount of expertise with the south node. Wherever the south node is a lot of latent power, latent ability. And you see if someone has a powerful south node and it gets affected by transits or dashas or whatever it is, it wakes up and all of a sudden things just, bam, like all of a sudden they just get something incredibly powerful because it's literally like the past life power coming to fruition. It just comes right into their life. And they know just what to do with it. It's their expertise. But it's often buried and hidden because of our fascination with Rahu, with the north node. So these things calm down after a certain age in our natal chart, but they're still very, very important. And I've done some courses and I do astrology readings on the nodes. That's really important to understand how they work. And frankly, there's not a lot of great work on the lunar nodes, really explaining them in 3 dimensions, and explaining them in great detail. The thing to know about the nodes is they actually take on the quality of every other placement. In the classics, especially in the classic Brihad Parashara Hora Sastra, the Rishi basically says, Rahu and Ketu are whatever they are influencing. They take on the quality of whatever they're influencing and magnify it that way. So basically they're a magnifying vortex of energy. They have qualities of every planet, every sign, and every house. But then depending on the house, the sign, and the planet that they're joined or that rules them or where they occupy, they modify a certain way according to their nature. It's very subtle. So I do readings where I look at your lunar nodes, house, sign, planets they join, and the main thing is that when they join planets, they affect those planets as house rulers. This is a deep principle in astrology that's really overlooked. I want to go on about that, but it is. Parashara says Rahu and Ketu affects per their union with a Baba Lord, which means when they join a planet, they affect it as the planetary lord. So it's going to affect it as a ruler and as an indicator based on the house it's in, the house that planet rules, and all these things that really takes a lot of delineation. Most people can't get their head around it. So I do readings on that, and I've done entire courses on the lunar nodes as well. It's really fascinating stuff, and I will tell you this right now. I think of one concept that's, I don't want to say anything is most important, but as far as really understanding what gets us hung up and confused in life and trying to understand like one main thing, I think this is probably one of the most important, if not the most important thing to really get a hold of, really get a handle on. And by the way, I've looked at different zodiacs and stuff, and I am a siderealist. I find this works with sidereal, signs, and full sign, full house system. And I've looked in many different, I've researched this a lot. It's not just me believing in what I want to believe in. Sidereal signs and full house, full sign system, the nodes are like deadly accurate. So if you're interested in getting a reading, I would do that. And if you wanted to get the course also, you can actually get a free introduction to them. Here on this page, you'll see there's a free introduction to the course there, where I'll send you out like 4.5 hours of audio. And then you can also get the full course if you're interested in that as well. So I hope you like this explanation of the astronomy of the nodes, body, mind, and soul, our incarnation, and our evolving karmas. And if you did like this, leave a comment. You know, thousands of people see these videos, and then I get like 3 comments, which, you know, I do it because I love to do it and I love to share, but it also is good for other people to see the comments, and I want to know what people think. And it would be great for you to share it. If you benefited from it, share it with others. People thank me so much. The best way to thank me is to do that. It's not a lot to ask. And I would really love if you're interested in having me look at your chart, or if you want to study more, then go ahead and take me up on those offers that are also here. So thanks a lot.